So this is going to be a very important segment. I'm actually going to do something a little different than normally I do for the podcast. I'm going to make it very visual. We're going to have some slides. We're going to show everything that's going on here. This is a very important segment because Transformers Earthspark is our next new fictional TV series. It's going to be our next big retail toy line. And all of that is going to be all a narrative moving forward for us and this brand, much like it was with Cyberverse before. But I feel that there's more of an emphasis and a push behind it this time around from Hasbro, from Paramount, from Nickelodeon. So we're going to really, I'm going to try to give you guys the best possible informational segment in relation to this toy line, what's going on, price points, what are we getting for that first wave, and everything like that. So sit back, relax, and I'm going to explain it all to you. Proto Man's going to give you a good old time. So the Transformers Earthspark line is going to have 5 different price points. There's going to be the Tacticon price point, the one-step price point, the Warrior price point, the Deluxe price point, and finally the Spin Changer price point. There may be more later on, but for the very first wave, these are the 5 price points. And the ones that I've listed were from cheapest to most expensive. Now, starting with the Transformers Earthspark Tacticon price point or assortment, it's going to be 3 different figures in this assortment. They're going to be $8 each, and they're going to be the simple little, push just with one figure, auto-transforming kind of gimmick. These have been done before in the past with Transformers. We had them with the activators during the animated era, and it goes back even before that with a lot of other Transformer product. But so that's pretty much how these are going to work. You're going to have Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, and Megatron. We've seen pretty much all 3 of these and how they look, whether it be in the press releases or in the displays at San Diego Comic-Con. So Megatron's going to be a small little cutesy, stubby version of his dual helicopter mode. And the Bumblebee one, which is supposed to be technically like a Ford GT kind of sports car, he almost kind of looks like a little hatchback, very similar to almost his own animated kind of look. Because again, it's that little small, almost activator kind of figure. And Optimus Prime, he's a truck. He transforms. He looks like Optimus Prime. Again, $8, 3 different figures for Wave 1, Bumblebee, Optimus, and Megatron. I'm going to post all these images up. You're going to see everything here. Next up, we have the one-step flip changers. Now, these are not something new to Transformers. In fact, a lot of the tooling and engineering is stuff that was found from both Cyberverse that came before it and even where it kind of really started, Age of Extinction with the movie line. So these are going to be $10 each. It's going to feature Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and Wheeljack. And if you really look at the tooling, especially the Bumblebee one, the Bumblebee looks like it's pretty much a retool or using that same general concept of that Cyberverse one that they love so much that they kept repacking. I call it the Switchblade Bumblebee, where you just kind of split it in half and it auto-transforms. That mold and concept was even before that with Age of Extinction with the Drift toy. So we're going to be seeing that. There's going to be an Optimus, there's going to be a Bumblebee, and there's going to be a Wheeljack. So the first Wheeljack figure, unfortunately, of this wave is going to be part of the one-step, but maybe later down the line we'll get some better versions of some of these other characters. But no surprise, another Bumblebee, another Optimus, and Wheeljack is going to be part of this. Again, $10, those 3 characters, the flip changers. Now we're going to get into the Warrior class assortment. Now this is something that kind of debuted with the Cyberverse line. It's a deluxe class if it was done on a more budget kind of scale. And these are going to be $15 each, which really show that it's not like your traditional deluxes. They will be a cheaper deluxe. Similar kind of size, 5 inches in general, like most deluxes, but not as much paint, not as much articulation, not as much complexity of transformation, but still kind of get the job done. In the Cyberverse line, that's what made a majority of the best figures of those characters if they didn't get the deluxe treatment. And I get a feeling we're probably going to be seeing quite a few Warrior classes of some of our main characters here. Now, they list here at $15 each. You're going to be getting Optimus Prime, Elita 1, and Skywarp. So we saw the Optimus Prime in the display. He's going to come with his battle axe and everything, so that looks pretty cool. Pretty decent, again, for a Warrior class. It's to be expected. The Elita 1 looks really good, to be honest. I think she turned out pretty well. I want to see how that alt mode looks, because we saw in the trailer that she turns into this kind of SUV kind of looking vehicle, maybe a Hummer. It's hard to tell from that quick image, but so I really want to see how her alt mode looks. But she looks good in robot mode. I mean, for considering the limitations of that $15 price point of a warrior class, she still looks pretty good. So not bad. They also have here, they list it as Skywarp. The funny thing is that in the display, they had something that looked like, so it pretty much looks like they took the Cyberverse Warrior class Starscream, that very first mold, and they repainted it into Thundercracker. It has that more Thundercracker kind of elements, the grays with the blues, but the listing has it here as Skywarp. Maybe it's a miscommunication, maybe it's supposed to be Thundercracker, but it literally looks, and we only have a alt mode image because that's in the display at San Diego Comic-Con, but it really looks like a straight up repaint of that Warrior class Starscream mold into a Thundercracker called Skywarp. I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to post the image. You give me your opinion. But that's how I see it. Again, these are $15 each. That's the Warrior class, Optimus Prime, Elita 1, and Skywarp Thundercracker. Either way. Then we have, and this is a good one, the Deluxe assortment. So Deluxes are going to be available from the get-go, unlike Cyberverse, where Deluxes came late in the game in the line, and which was unfortunate because a lot of characters weren't due their justice before the line ended. So we have the Deluxe assortment here coming right out of the gate. Another good piece of news is these Deluxe assortments are going to be $20 each. Not $29.99, not $24.99 like what we're getting used to with Deluxes with our other products. These will be $20 each, $19.99 pretty much. They'll also fit into scale with your warrior classes because they're going to be about 5 inches each. So they're going to just be, much more higher budget with it. And another thing, too, is every figure is going to come with a Build-A-Figure piece. So that's continuing the tradition of when we got those Deluxes in Cyberverse, that very first wave of them had Build-A-Figure pieces for McAdams. They're continuing that tradition to have a Build-A-Figure also. So who is in this, first of all, to begin with? Which Deluxes are going to be available? So we're going to have Bumblebee, we're going to have Megatron, and we're going to have Twitch, which is the new female character that turns into the drone kind of floating character here. And the Build-A-Figure is Dr. Mandroid. So you're probably going to get, of these 3 figures, you're going to get a piece of Dr. Mandroid. And so you assemble them and you get this human/mecha armed kind of character. An interesting way in order to get a human figure into a Transformers assortment by having him be the Build-A-Figure. So I dig that a lot. I think that's pretty cool. So as it stands, we've seen the Bumblebee in robot mode in the display. We haven't seen the alt mode yet. We've seen the Megatron in alt mode. We haven't seen the robot mode yet. And we've seen Twitch in robot mode. We haven't seen the alt mode yet. So we have a little bit of both, but they all look great. And again, they're that Deluxe assortment price point. So they have a lot more paint. They have a lot more articulation. I think Twitch looks fantastic, especially compared to her animation model. It looks pretty good 1-for-1. And hey, having a Build-A-Figure idea creates that smart business tactic to collect them all. You want to get the full case assortment so you can get that Build-A-Figure. And Build-A-Figures, let's be real, guys, always in the secondary market, those complete Build-A-Figures do very well. Whether it be Transmutate or McAdams or even the Marvel Legends stuff, Build-A-Figures complete always do well because it's always the chase to get them. So that's pretty cool. And again, these are going to be $20 each, which is much cheaper than what we've been expecting with a lot of our Deluxes in the past. And it's going to be, again, Bumblebee, Megatron, and Twitch, the Autobot. No Thrash. I'm actually interesting. By the way, just spoiler, Thrash isn't in any of these yet. Maybe he's going to be a Wave 2 character. We'll see. And the last one we have here today, and it's the biggest assortment, the gimmick price point, the big chunky one. This is the Spin Changer price point. This kind of replaces what the Ultra class or the Ultra price point was in Cyberverse, where you had these kind of auto-transforming, spinning, kind of spring-loaded giant Transformer figures. This kind of, I guess, replaces that, calls them Spin Changers. These are going to be $30 each, and they're going to feature Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. Again, it's going to be Optimus and Bumblebee, but they are probably the most accurate, at least in the robot modes, of how they look to their animation counterpart. But because they're the Spin Changer and they're gimmick based, they will probably be limited in articulation and probably the finer veneering of detail. These are made to be more the big gimmick birthday present kind of stuff. But the big selling point with these is each one of these comes with one member of the Malto family. So if you get Optimus Prime, you get Robby, and if you get Bumblebee, you get Mo. And so these are 2-inch little unarticulated figures that actually clip on their shoulders for extra, I guess, display or photography detail. So if you want to get your 2 little figures of the human characters, but these are unarticulated, but little 2-inch figures of them, you get the spin changers of either Optimus Prime or Bumblebee. These are $30 each. And that's it more or less. But they look pretty cool. I mean, me personally, the way I see it, like, obviously for the adult hardcore collector, the Tacticon stuff, unless it has unique characters, is pretty much skippable, unless you want that little animated looking kind of Bumblebee. The Warrior class is where you're going to go to get those characters that aren't going to get deluxes. So probably Elita 1 will be a Warrior class purchase in a lot of ways. And I guess that's Skywarp Thundercracker. But the deluxes is where we're probably all going to go. It's where we're going to probably pick up most of our figures, and of course the Build-A-Figure itself. And if you want to get those human figures, you're probably going to have to figure out a way to pick up those spin changers and ask if someone just wants a giant Optimus or a giant Bumblebee, or if you just want to have them on display. But these look cool otherwise. Again, I'm happy with the price point. It looks like Hasbro managed to pull it down a bit while not compromising the figures too much. I mean, it's interesting that you could have Twitch look so well in that deluxe price point and include a Build-A-Figure. Maybe because it's only 3 figures a wave as opposed to 4. That might be the reason, and thus the budget is a little more wider. I don't know the specifics of it. It's something that is going to have to be asked of the design team when the time comes for a Q&A. But I'm really impressed with what I see, and I hope you're really impressed with what you see, because this is going to be the future of the brand starting in November. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a lot more we're going to cover here on the Transformers Slag podcast. But I'm hyped. I hope you're hyped. And we're going to be going into a whole new Transformer world with Transformers Earthspark.